Welcome to the video, guys. Today we're going to be breaking down what is the max effort method, and it's a tried and tested, used for almost 100 years now by some of the best strength coaches in the world on some of the best athletes in the world. So in this quick video, we're just going to kind of break down what it is and how you can use it in your own training. So the main influence for the max effort method in the modern day is from Louis Simmons and Westside Barbell. Now, Louis Simmons actually kind of took that himself, and he says that himself from Verkhoshansky's work. I probably butchered the pronunciation there, but he wrote Super Training and essentially formalized what is the max effort method, the dynamic effort method, and then like the repetition method, and then I think like the future method and maybe a couple of others. But yeah, so some really good work. It's quite a hefty book, I admit. I've got it. I've not got through it all yet. It's quite a hefty book to get through. But if you are interested in reading some real interesting pieces of like historical literature on training and kind of the real formalization of periodization and just training itself, I would recommend getting that book. But it's a big read, and to be honest, it's not a cheap book to pick up either. I think I bought it for about $100 at the time, which, if that's not a lot for you, great. At the time for me, it was quite a bit, but it was well worth the investment. The reason I'm telling you this is to give you context and trust in the methods, essentially, because they are extremely well documented and it goes back quite a few years now. So obviously, you could probably guess by the name of Verkhoshansky and some of the other like greats as well from that time. They were all in Soviet Russia, right? So essentially, they had, I think it was it was at least like 1,000 athletes, and these guys were just in a camp eating X diet every single day, and it was like, monitored. Obviously, there will have been like drugs in place that will be monitored bang on, and it was just pure training, like military style. So they've got a great like petri dish of data to collect from here. And so the max effort method, like some of the methods I'm going to go over in later videos, the result of all of this testing and this documentation and these years and years and years of people training and coaches eyes on with the athletes. So they really do work, and you can give full trust into the methods. So without further ado, I'll get into what the max effort method actually is and how you can bring it into your training and benefit from it. So without even realizing it, many of you are probably already doing some form of max effort in your weekly routine. So if you work up to any kind of max effort, right, it's in the fucking name, 1 rep max, 2 rep max, 3 rep max, any kind of time where you are straining and you're pushing yourself to your limit. So that point on a very heavy lift where you strain through the weight, that is essentially what the max effort method is all about. The way it was used in Westside, for a very general explanation here, they rotated their exercises extremely heavily. Okay, so like they were doing geared lifting, and I believe it was obviously like weekly rotations, I imagine, at some point. And from what I know, I've never been there or whatever, so don't take my word for it. But with these weekly rotations, they're not necessarily looking for weight increases. Like the PR does not necessarily matter, although that's what they're looking for. But at elite levels, it's very hard to get PRs. They're more looking to increase the amount of time they can strain under a maximal weight. And then when you combine that with other methods, that's when they would essentially break PRs. And that's like the whole theory behind their training system, if you like, from my understanding. But the max effort method can be used on its own, and it can be used for beginners very effectively on its own, but it really does shine the best when it's used in conjunction with other methods, and we will get onto that in later videos. One of the most simple implementations we can kind of add into your program, let's say, for the max effort method is going to be working up to some form of top set with back offs for most people. If we did do it like traditionally how it was used in West Side and perhaps how the Soviets were using it, pardon me, it's not going to be enough volume for most people. We're going to need some kind of back off sets there. So what I'd typically like to see with beginner to intermediates would be perhaps working up to a set of 5, for example, on a given week, on a given main movement. Okay, so some kind of like compound lift, squat, let's say, or bench. They want to be working up to like a 5 rep top heavy set. They want to get up to that pretty quickly without wasting energy. But they need to be obviously sufficiently warmed up. So you're running a bit of a fine line there, but that's obviously the thing we're fighting to get as good as we can. And when we get up to that top set, it needs to be a top set, and ideally the lifter doesn't want to fail. We don't want to be failing the lift here. It wants to be doable progression, so you can't really be overshooting it. It does need to be very, very steady over the weeks, but that is normally the best way to progress somebody. Like, it's very boring, but it works. And then as soon as you've done that top set, you're going to change the weight. So you might drop 15%, 20%, depending on what you've done. And then you're going to do maybe 4 sets of 5, let's say, or something like that. So essentially there, we've just kind of mutated a 5x5. So that's like a very standard strength prescription. Okay, so if you've read Starting Strength by Mark Ripto, you'll know about 5x5 strength, 5x5 set prescription, sorry. So we can just change that slightly and do a top set, and there you go. That's max effort method, technically, as long as we are taking that max effort to the point where we're straining. So we want to be like around 90% kind of area, maybe 95, running up to that. Again, depending on, this is relevant to like the rep range you're working in. Okay, so that would obviously be if you were doing a 5 rep max, 90%, I'm talking 90% of a 5 rep max, like not necessarily like your 1 rep max or something. Okay, it's all relevant to the lifter and specific to the person, and we can kind of apply that to anything, right? Okay, so I'll just give you some examples in case this is what you're doing right now. Say you do, on your first heavy or main exercise, you do 3 sets of 10. Okay, rather than doing that, just do an extra set of 5 in front. And I mean, if you feel like you're doing too much volume, you could change the sets of 10 down to 7 or something like that, just to even it out a little bit. But as long as we are essentially exposing ourselves to a heavy weight and a real grind for a small amount of time, and we're going to try and build on that, we're winning. That is the progression. That's the progressive overload. So that's what we're looking for. Any form of real high effort lift is a max effort lift. Just before I finish the video, I want to kind of throw this in as well, because I think this is important, and it is a part of the max effort. So not only when we strain are we becoming stronger, we're lifting a really heavy weight, we're obviously getting like neurological adaptations via the heavy weight we're lifting, but you are also actually teaching the person how to kind of stay calm under that weight. So any of you that have got under a heavy squat, put it on your back and taken it down, when it gets hard, and if you don't know you're going to get it up and finish the rep, it can be a bit fucking scary, right? If it's a heavy weight. You know, if you've not set your safeties up, or if you've not got spotters, it could be a bad situation. You never know. If you are not able to focus through that and be disciplined and keep your form and kind of stay calm, you won't be able to execute the rep as well. For most people, they're going to kind of flap and they might bail. They might just kind of, if they're in a situation where they can be helped by spotters, they might just give up. So it is important that we expose new lifters, especially I believe, to some form of max effort training, because it does quickly teach them that aspect of how to work hard, basically, and not be a bitch when it gets really heavy and when it gets tough. So it's an important thing to teach new lifters, intermediate lifters, and it's also got massive benefits for advanced lifters and, you know, intermediates that aren't pussies, or new people that aren't pussies. But it's something that everybody should be trying to include. I'd say at least twice a week for most people. So let's say you do like an upper lower split. You're obviously going to do upper lower twice a week, yeah? Like one of each. You want to try and get like a max effort movement in on 2 of those days, right? For the, whatever the day it is, okay? So you need 1 max effort upper day, you need 1 max effort lower day. If you're doing push-pull legs, even if you're doing like bodybuilding kind of stuff, you can still include it in, you can still bring it in if you wanted to work on your strength and do a little bit of power building. So there's loads of ways you can manipulate your current program. You don't have to necessarily like jump on some crazy conjugate split. You can just bring it in and like drag and drop, plug and play, and make your program your own. So if you want any help with that, I'll put my contact details in the description. You can hit me up. I'm happy to look at your program, help you out. Also, I've got a free app on the App Store. You can track your workouts. It's got programs, it's everything. It's free, so go check that out as well. If you've liked the video, please subscribe, like the video. Appreciate you guys. See you again.